I hold Yoweri Kaguta Museveni responsible for my disqualification. And I've been communicating it to all the members who support Jimmy AKENA that it is Yoweri Kaguta Museveni who is responsible for AKENA not being on the ballot. And as such, my communication to them is that Yoweri Kaguta Museveni cannot benefit from AKENA not being on the ballot. So anybody who wanted to vote for AKENA, please, please, please do not vote for Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. That's my message. It has been clear and it is very straightforward. There are 7 other candidates. I said, if you want to vote for any of the 7, please go ahead. I have no difficulty with you voting for the 7, but I insist, do not vote for Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. Now, there are those who said, despite all of that one, they cannot vote for the 7. I said, now, if you cannot vote for the 7, you take your ballot paper and write the name AKENA. Put AKENA on the ballot. They have refused to put my picture. They have refused to put me there. You write my name there. That is my message to my voters. Yoweri, no. All circumstances, Yoweri, no. The rest, feel free. If you can't, write AKENA. Is there any ambiguity here? It is very straightforward, very clear. It's very clear. You are trying to get a politician, or I would say the son of a politician's politician, and you want to try to trick him into saying something he doesn't want to say. That will never happen. All these years I've been in politics, and you think you're going to corner me like this? At the end of the day, Electoral Commission must declare the number of spoiled ballots. There will be a general average which you can find over the number of years. On average, an election, you get such percentage as a spoiled ballot. If, for example, you say maybe 5% is the spoiled ballot, 3% is the spoiled ballot, anything above 3%, that's AKENA's vote. Anything above 3% will be AKENA's vote. If the 10% spoiled ballots, you know AKENA has 7% of the vote. So you can still do your mathematics. Whether I am actually on, you still know that does AKENA have influence? Is AKENA able to drive the force? Is AKENA able to speak to people and people listen to him? Or AKENA is just talking, wah, as others want to go to place and open their mouths and think they can make sense of things which they don't understand. We're going to meet on the ground. January 15th is not far. And I'm telling those in UPC, if you're going to be campaigning for Museveni, I'm coming for you. I am. You're either with me or you're against me. Simple. Black, white, no halfway. For 2026, there's no halfway. You define your position, we'll sort it out. January 16th, yes, we can have a drink. But 15th, watch out. Thank you. We need to address the questions of where we're going as a country. And if we don't address them now, when are we going to address them? There are questions, if you don't address, they will come to you. You can try to push it under the rug, but we need to address, is this country working for all its citizens? I say definitely not. An election is a time where we have that conversation. We talk about how can we improve the services available, how to improve health, how to give a promise to the next generation that they'll be able to succeed, how to give hope to the young people that they'll be able to raise their families. And Uganda is going to be the prosperous country they dream about or hope for. That is what we do in sharing our vision. More important than even some of the promises which are made is a vision which people can attach themselves to, which can live by. Those are promises of an election. This, what we're going through in Uganda, is a farce. Some of us are only sticking in because there's no better alternative. The alternative is worse. If you don't do anything, it is worse. So you have to be engaged. You know it is not fair, but you still have to be engaged. You know your candidates are going to be mistreated, but you're still there to push through. That any little hope or glimmer of hope which you give, you think it is going to make a difference. That's why we remain engaged. Not that we believe in the nonsense which we're going through. Fairness, there's no fairness in this election. There's not been fairness. Will I disengage? No, I'll not. With every breath I have, I'm going to try my level best to hope for that better Uganda and use every strength I have for fighting for that Uganda. But there are people who don't seem to care. They think they can hold on to something which is disenfranchising the majority. And these people are less than 1%. They don't believe that the people of Uganda will wake up one day and realize that they're being exploited, they're being mistreated on the dreams or the benefits of others and not the citizens of Uganda. I want to be distinguished that when the question was asked, I stood with the people of Uganda. I've always stood with the people of Uganda. And I hope UPC will do. And the UPC candidates will always stand by the people of Uganda. So what is wrong will be wrong and it will remain wrong. Yes, sir. That is the essence of democracy. When it is aggregated, you have an idea of where people stand, what people hope for. In 1961, there was an election in Uganda, and it was boycotted largely. In the whole of Buganda, about 36,000 people registered. Those are the ones who registered. The ones who went to vote were even less. The people who were entitled were over 1.5 million to register. So by boycotting the 61 election, they sent a clear message that whoever is there talking is not talking on behalf of the majority of the people. So even if you write the name AKENA and you get, I'm expecting more than 20,000. Because at the time when the registration and interference came in UPC, we had registered 451,000 in our grassroots structure in the areas where we had conducted the grassroots election. My target would have been at least well over 1 million, 1.5 million, but by July of this year, we had crossed 450,000 in our book. So definitely we expect far more than that one. If you're saying, writing AKENA, it will send a message that AKENA is not somebody who's just talking from out of the air. He has a base. He has support. And what they're doing by disqualifying me is to try to dismiss me in the conversation of the transition of tomorrow. That AKENA is not there. AKENA has no base. Who is AKENA? By writing my name, you're telling them that AKENA does have a base. You can ignore him at your own peril. And there are people who are running around saying this. My message is very clear. You're either with me or against me. I will meet you on the ground. In this election, I'm going to the ground. I'm going to be campaigning. If AKENA has no influence, ignore him. After all, the election will pass. If AKENA can influence the ground, beware. AKENA is not your average run-of-the-mill person who doesn't know what the hell is going on in politics. What is going on, and to excuse me for the language which I'm going to use, is bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. You call this election? You know it's bullshit. But we have to stick for the people of Uganda. The only better future is when we're involved, when we're trying to guide. But as far as the election is concerned, no, this is not an election. We go through the motions, but it's not an election. Yes, sir. Such questions. Because there's a lot of hypotheses. I don't deal in hypotheses, I deal in real politics. What I can influence on the ground, I'll do it. What I can campaign, I'll do. What I can change, I will do. What I can say which will have an influence, I'll do. But hypothesis, if this happens, that happens, no. I am wrestling here. On the surface, it may look whatever, but we're hitting each other. We get hit, I hit back. That is the campaign. So, hypothesis, are we going to change? At the end of the day, it's the people of Uganda to determine where are we going. People have made Museveni to be this colossus that cannot be moved. He can be moved. Why is he disqualifying AKENA? AKENA is insignificant. If he was there, AKENA is insignificant. Why? The other day, we had the number 3 in Uganda, in Lira. Opening their mouth, just talking nonsense. No, I'm serious here because, let me put it in context for people who don't understand politics. What she said, I had the first mind was, I can go to court. Challenge. What she's saying is that the president has broken the law, that's why AKENA is in parliament. So the number 3 in Uganda is accusing the number 1 of breaking the law for illegally having AKENA in parliament. If I go to court to challenge that issue, she'll be saying, no, AKENA is lying, it's the president who has broken the law. Now, if you take it up to the Supreme Court, you have number 1 versus number 3 versus number, is it 4 or 5? How do you address that issue? Now, that is somebody who does not understand the office which you hold. In UK, speaker seeking re-election, no major party will field a candidate because they recognize the office, the words which come from that office. You don't just open your mouth and just talk like on a street. As Ugandans, we need to be serious in future. Some of these offices, you need to understand the office. Speaker of the Republic of Uganda, effectively accusing the president of breaking the law. To have an AKENA in parliament when he should not be there. That's her statement. And me, I know, and the president should know, the reason of that 2011 issue, I restrained myself. I could have capitalized on the mess which his people made. Basically, he was delivered in my hands. I could have run roughshod over him. I didn't do it. And then somebody now comes there, oh, you saved AKENA. Stupid. That's nonsense. Until the last moment, I can't. Surrender to what? People are fumbling around. Some don't even know what they're doing. And I sit there and watch. President lying year after year, election after election. Oh, we're going to do this road, we're going to do this road. Then you blame civil servants. Oh, this. Every year, nothing happens. So, I still believe UPC is the best solution. And I know I have been locked out outside of the normal ambits of the functioning issues of a state and the rule of law. So I appeal to a higher power, but I also appeal I should be on the ballot. According to who? According to who? Time is out. So because time is out, you cannot do the right thing. If you're a doctor in an emergency in Mulago and a patient comes, your time has knocked off. You say, no, I can't save this patient because my time is out. Do you leave a patient because your time is out? If the future... I am going to be brief on my press statement, and then I'll be open to questions. And since I've not addressed for some time, I'm sure there must be quite a few questions. The Uganda People's Congress, in the wake of the wanton political violence being meted out on various candidates, especially in the opposition political circles, amid the 2026 campaigns, and those involved in breaking the law and undermining the democratic electoral processes needed to recognize that it has been an uphill struggle over a period of years where the Uganda People's Congress took a center stage, initially opposing the no-party democracy all the way through the movement system, and UPC had been in the forefront in the struggle for multi-party politics, and we cherish the spirit of multi-party politics. It is disappointing that the agencies of the state, including the police and the army, have failed to note that true multi-party politics is a conversation of the citizens of Uganda amongst themselves. In every election cycle, be it 2006, 2011, 2016, 2021, the country has gone through elections and post-elections, violence with loss of life and fatalities amongst our citizens. This is most unfortunate, and it undermines the whole essence of the rule of law, constitutionalism, the freedom of association, the freedom of assembly, freedom of expression, and democracy. The 2016 electoral reforms by the Supreme Court and subsequent proposals by political parties and civil society that ought to harmonize our democratic processes have been deliberately ignored each and every election cycle. So the presence of the army and police with their high-handedness on civilians raises a lot of concern on the electoral process. Earlier on, I raised my concern, and it continues to be there, that the internal security organization, I failed to understand their role in and the democratic electoral process, which involves all the citizens of Uganda. But their involvement as far as tracking the collection of signatures for presidential aspirants became apparent, and their involvement in trying to intimidate citizens to withdraw signatures at various levels. What the National Unity Platform presidential candidate, Robert Chagulanyi, and his supporters have undergone while campaigning in Acholi, West Nile, Ankole, Kawempe, and various parts of the country is totally unacceptable and needs to be condemned by all. The excessive use of force and the ugly scenes of brutality which we witnessed in Gulu on the 6th of December are totally uncalled for and should be discouraged at all costs. The UPC joins other stakeholders to demand immediate investigation into the matter and bring the culprits to book. As UPC, we continue to reiterate that the army should be withdrawn from elections. And the police role should be to keep law and order as defined in the law and by the guidance given by the Electoral Commission. In other words, they have no business in trying to determine the outcome. The party observes with great concern the emergence of shadowy groups, some calling themselves ghetto youth, who are exhibiting violent behavior, sometimes in plain view of those who should be maintaining law and order. And this is something which I personally must condemn, because in the election I want everybody to feel free to go and vote. There are those who have sat on their vote for years. An election is where all of us as a country should be able to come together and vote. These people running around clobbering others discourage the silent majority. But it's time for the silent majority also to come up and speak. Let their voices be heard. I would love that the national campaigns be conducted in a free atmosphere. And as UPC, we're committed to doing our campaigns and giving our issue-based approaches to the problems which the people of Uganda face, and do it in a peaceful way. As the president of the Uganda People's Congress, I had the opportunity to campaign with some of my candidates in Teso, which I began on the 30th of November, and I did most of this campaign from the landing sites of the Greater Lake Kyoga Basin, and largely I highlighted issues concerning the fishing communities, their livelihoods, and the question of compensation of cattle, which affects Teso, Lango, and Acholi, and the unfulfilled promises of the president. It is interesting that I have not been attacked on any of the issues which I raised, but the attacks are coming in a different direction. I also wish to inform members that I've been running what we call a UPC special. It's a tool which we've been using over the years to help fundraising and supporting candidates. I was able to launch this on the 26th of November to collect whatever little funds to support our candidates. Unfortunately, last Wednesday, we were not able to run it because I was coming back from Serere, and while en route, we were not able to run the broadcast. But this evening, we'll be running the broadcast from 8 to 9 p.m., and we have lines for contributions to support the UPC candidates. These are in the name of the Jimmy AKENA Foundation. We have an MTN Momo line, which is 723-036, and an Airtel number, which is 4397653. All this support goes towards the candidates. I say all of this for God and my country.